Hello everybody. Now, the IIWB is finally back. I decided to do it with the biggest storyline ever, with the invasion storyline, which could have been so much better than what it actually was. And I'm going to take it bit by bit, angle by angle, of what I would have probably, what I have liked to do, leading to this big sort of idea. And this is exactly how I would have booked it, starting with Taker versus DDP Stalker angle. DDP was one of the first to actually step into WWE ring before the invasion actually happened. And what I would actually do is have that exact same storyline with the Stalker. I thought it was perfect. It could have been done a lot better. The storyline itself could have made a lot of money and stars out of DDP as well, and his introduction into that time. But you basically have the vignette start to air. It starts with Sarah just in her house, or not in her house. So it starts with her out on the streets, and it starts to get closer, and it goes into the house. It gets closer. Starts to get to the bedroom. It gets closer. It starts to get to the shower, and it starts to get more intimate and more intimate, and it starts to get really close into the Undertaker's head. So by this time, he's really pissed and wanting to find out who the hell it is, and he sort of goes on the spree of looking for who it is. Can't find it. He starts to beat the mess out of a lot of guys, basically weakening down the roster list a little bit, maybe even putting a few guys out on injury leave for a few months by his attacks themselves. Now, then you would have Undertaker would get word from backstage that the Stalker's actually at a hotel nearby, but Taker's sort of reluctant to leave because he has a match, but he knows that he has to do this. So he leaves to find the guy, and while he does, the Stalker comes out in the ring with a mask on. DDP cuts a very short line onto the mask, and he gets the hell out of there. Just enough time to get the Undertaker, and then you show the clips of the Undertaker racing back. So by the time the Undertaker races back, his match is just starting to begin. His match starts to begin. The Stalker runs through the crowd. Or by that time, the Stalker's already gone. Stalker comes back, interferes in the match. He does so for several weeks, leading to this final match where he does interfere, and DDP stands over him, takes off the mask, and reveals himself as DDP himself. I think it could be very well booked that way. In continuation of that, the Undertaker would request a match from Vince, and Vince would say to him, DDP is not a part of the roster. I can't really condone that type of match. And he says, you know what, you have to hire this man just so I can beat the hell out of him. And then you can do whatever you want with him. So he comes out. Or Vince is very reluctant to do so and says, you know what, go ahead. It's all right. He says, I'll hire DDP. So he hires DDP, and they finally get this match started. And that's what leads to the DDP Undertaker match. I forget what pay-per-view it is. It would be a pay-per-view after that, though. I would book it until that. So you have Taker versus DDP. I would have DDP go over. So therefore, you have Undertaker looking just a little bit weak, but it's worth it for the final build-up. And then eventually he'd want that rematch just so he could beat his ass. And that would happen to build up to that at the next pay-per-view. And then finally, when it looks like Undertaker's going strong, he's going to beat him, he's going to win, Kanyon would present himself as aligning himself with DDP. So Undertaker is weak against, though it's more of a disqualification at that sort of pay-per-view. And they leave him laying in the ring. For a while now, you start to get little handicap matches, or there'll be a handicap match, maybe on SmackDown, the one after that, and which would present itself as Kane would actually come into effect as his tag team partner. He was doing something in another storyline, which I'll get to in Kane's portion, but, excuse me, that would lead to the cage match, where you'd have the Brothers of Destruction versus, I would actually call them the Insiders by this time, DDP and Kane, the new Insiders rather. Build them both as the tag team champions. But right before the pay-per-view, the night before, I would have the Brothers of Destruction taking on Jindrak and O'Haire, which the Brothers of Destruction would lose the title to Jindrak and O'Haire through the new Insiders sort of interference. Now, that means there's only one tag team title right now, which would be settled in the cage. And so I would have not booked it the way it was. That was a horribly booked match. I thought that was completely stupid, completely BS. It made Undertaker and Kane look so much stronger than they had to be. And what I would actually do is I would let Kane go out first. Kane and Undertaker's winning, they're beating him. Kane goes over first. Undertaker says it's okay. And also I'd give the stipulation that whoever's on the outside has, if you climb over the cage, you have to go to the back. So Kane goes over, Kane goes to the back. Undertaker says it's okay. You know, he starts to get beat up by DDP and Canyon. Kane climbs over. Once they really, really weaken him down, it looks like he can't do nothing. Then it's DDP to basically stand in his face and taunt him and start to yell and scream his lines, "Make me famous." And then that's where their match finally really starts. So it'd be sort of a match within a match. And then you would have Undertaker finally go over to win the tag team belts for both of them. And I think that would actually be a better storyline than what they did. There is a continuation of this, which I'm going to get to in just a little bit. So stay tuned for that. Later.